in this lesson, we'll take a break from JavaScript a little bit and do some cool design things. The only JS thing I'm going to show you is, remember when I created this variable in global scope and I said something like, hey, this doesn't matter. You could maybe select the first one. You could set it to false, or you could just declare it as kind of like an empty variable. Well, I'm actually going to declare this to false. And the reason is because if you resize right now, and we go to our resize event, resize, we face an issue where this doesn't exist yet. So it's trying to find the outer height of guts, but it doesn't know what the last click thing is because nothing was clicked. And this is really kind of a common error situation in JavaScript. So what you'll end up doing are, you'll find yourself, it doesn't matter if it's jQuery, vanilla JS, or anything, you'll find yourself doing stuff like this, like last clicked, if last clicked pop-up target even exists, which I'm just saying if it's true or exists, we can run the code. And now it looks like my code works. If I refresh and resize and nothing was clicked, it works. All right, now let's go to our cool design CSS things. We have awesome pop-up functionality with overly simple design. I want to create a situation where we can animate the pop-ups coming in and maybe give some alternative design options. And to kind of kickstart this, let's create a third pop-up, and we'll just copy paste code real quick. And we're going to say pop-up 3, and then we'll add like an H2 in the middle, H2 just so it's really clear that this is going to be the third pop-up. And the whole thing that I'm going to show you when I do this is we're going to take a really practical CSS, a smart CSS approach to doing this. Our system is already in place where when you click something, the entire pop-up fills the screen. So what I want to do is create classes, and we're just doing class management. And class management with jQuery, you can just do so much. Well, for the first pop-up, what we'll do is keep it plain and boring. For the second pop-up, I'm going to add a class called make dark, and then we'll create styles for make dark. And then for the third one, we'll say make fancy. Let's hop over to our style sheet, go to the very bottom, and I'll comment here, styles for pop-up. So if you guys want to come download these files and mess with it later, we will. I'm going to copy and paste code because it's no point in recreating basic CSS. You guys know it. Make dark is just saying, hey, make all the text white, put a dark background on it with a little bit of opacity. And the make fancy is going to be a gradient. So if I refresh here and I click pop-up 1, plain and boring, pop-up 2, dark, but it looks good. And now pop-up 3, we have a super fancy, cool one. And that's how I did that just with classes, nothing complex. Now we can do the exact same thing with CSS animations or CSS3 animations. So let's do styles for, or animations for pop-up. And I already have a couple of styles set up here. And I'll do the CSS first for these. And I'm just going to copy paste again. We're using CSS3 keyframes, not JavaScript for these animations. So if it has the class fade in normal, we're going to call the keyframe fade in normal, where it just goes from opacity 0 to 1 over a period of 600 milliseconds. So let's do that. Go to our index, and we'll just put that on pop-up 1. So secret pop-up, pop-up 1, fade in normal. Refresh here, it fades in normal. And I don't know how well you guys can see that on camera, but on the recording, but it's just fading in, and it's pretty cool. Now, if we wanted to do alternative cool styles or animations, we could do scale in with different animations where the code's real similar. And I'm not going to talk about keyframes too much. You can kind of dive into that yourself since it's a CSS thing. But all this does is kind of animate it in a lot fancier fashion. So let's go to pop-up 2, and say the dark one is going to scale in. Refresh, fade in, click pop-up 2, scale in. That was pretty nice. And you can kind of see how it goes from like 150% size to kind of dropping in there. That's a nice little effect. And then finally, for fun, I put together a animation that you should never do, and it's called Totally Crazy, Don't Do This Please, No Help keyframe. And I'm going to call this class on pop-up 3 and refresh here. Pop-up 1, fade in. Pop-up 2, scale in. And pop-up 3, we're going to get a crazy spinning chaos. And it works, but, you know, we have a pop-up. And when it comes to modern jQuery, you're always going to want to kind of do your animations with CSS if you can, and not JavaScript. And for that reason, or jQuery, and for that reason, I didn't even cover animations in this entire course.